5,000 years ago, a civilization appeared in the desert with writing, mathematics, cities, and laws. No primitive phase, no gradual development, just suddenly, fully formed. And nearly everything you use today came from people history forgot existed. If this is your first time here, subscribe right now. I expose the origins of everything you think you know. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Here's what they don't teach you in school. Around 4,500 BCE, in the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, something impossible happened. Scattered villages became advanced cities almost overnight. We're talking Uruk, a city of over 50,000 people in 2900 BCE. Most of the world was still living in settlements of a few hundred. These people built multi-story buildings, massive temple complexes called ziggurats, and irrigation systems that turned desert into fertile farmland. And they did it without any civilization to learn from, because they were the first. The Sumerians invented writing, not primitive cave drawings, cuneiform, a complex script with over 600 characters that could express abstract concepts, contracts, poetry, and history. Before this moment, human knowledge died with every generation. Everything your grandfather learned vanished when he did. The Sumerians changed that. They created the ability to preserve thought across time. Every book you've ever read, every text you've ever sent, every word written in human history exists because of clay tablets pressed in ancient Mesopotamia. They invented the wheel, not just the idea that circles roll. They invented the potter's wheel for mass-producing containers and the wheeled vehicle for transportation. In 3500 BCE, they revolutionized trade, travel, and economy. Before the wheel, civilizations were limited by how far a human could carry something. After the wheel, the world opened up. But here's where it gets strange. Check your watch right now. 60 seconds in a minute. 60 minutes in an hour. That's not arbitrary. That's Sumerian mathematics. They used a base 60 number system called sexagesimal. 5,000 years ago, they chose 60 as their mathematical foundation, and we still use it every single day. Your clock is Sumerian technology. When you tell someone you'll meet them in 30 minutes, you're speaking in ancient Mesopotamian math. They used this same mathematical sophistication for geometry, architecture, and astronomy. They calculated lunar cycles with precision that wouldn't be matched for thousands of years. They tracked planetary movements across the night sky. They identified constellations we still use today, without telescopes, without computers, without satellites. Just naked eye observation, clay tablets, and mathematical calculations that rival modern astronomy. Think about that for a second. They predicted eclipses. They knew Venus's cycle so accurately they could forecast its appearances years in advance. How did they know to look? How did they calculate with such accuracy? Nobody has a complete answer. The Sumerians created the first written laws. The Code of Ur-Nammu dated to 2100 BCE, 300 years before Hammurabi's more famous code. This wasn't tribal justice where the strongest voice wins. This wasn't village elders making arbitrary decisions based on personal relationships. This was standardized law, written down in stone, applied equally to everyone, regardless of status. The radical concept that justice should be consistent, predictable, and codified started here. Every legal system in the modern world, from traffic courts to the Supreme Court, traces back to this Sumerian innovation. The idea that laws exist above individuals, that's Sumerian. They built schools called edubas, which literally translates to tablet houses. Formal education systems with curriculum, trained teachers and enrolled students, not apprenticeships, not family trade secrets, actual schools. Subjects included writing, mathematics, history, astronomy, and law. The revolutionary idea that knowledge should be systematically taught to the next generation instead of just passed down through bloodlines. That's Sumerian. Your school system, with its classrooms and curriculum and standardized learning, has Sumerian DNA running through it. Pause for a second. Why weren't the Sumerians taught in school the way Egypt and Rome were? Drop your theory in the comments. Here's what happened to them. The Akkadian Empire, led by Sargon, conquered Sumer around 2334 BCE. The Sumerian language faded, but the bigger killer was environmental collapse. The same irrigation systems that made Sumer powerful caused soil salinization. Salt built up in the fields, crops failed, climate shifts brought drought. The civilization that mastered water management was destroyed by water problems. The cities were abandoned. The ziggurats, built from mud brick, eroded into hills. Sand buried everything. For 4,000 years, Sumer disappeared. Completely. The civilization that invented civilization was forgotten. Archaeologists in the 1800s started digging in Iraq and found cities nobody remembered existed. Cuneiform wasn't deciphered until 1857, the first written language in human history, and we couldn't read it for 4 millennia. Here's why we forgot. Egypt built pyramids, stone monuments still standing today. Rome built the Colosseum, still standing. Sumer built in mud brick. Mud brick returns to dust. History favors stone. Sumer chose clay, and clay doesn't last. But the knowledge did. Babylon inherited Sumerian knowledge. Assyria did. Akkad did. Every civilization that followed in Mesopotamia built on Sumerian foundations. Those empires got the credit. Sumer became invisible. The blueprint everyone used, but nobody remembered. But here's what they left behind. Every time you check a clock, that's Sumerian. Every time you write anything, that's a Sumerian invention. Every time a law is applied fairly, that's a Sumerian concept. Every epic story about floods and heroes, those are Sumerian narratives repackaged. The first civilization in history invented the tools of civilization and then vanished so completely that we forgot they existed for 4,000 years. Which makes you wonder, what else did they know that we haven't rediscovered yet? What got lost in the sand? If you want more stories about the hidden origins of everything you think you know, subscribe right now. Next week, I'm breaking down what was really lost when the Library of Alexandria burned and why we're still paying for it. Comment one thing you use every day that you never knew came from ancient Sumer. Let's see who was paying attention.